Chiefs here, who are, well, not on a roll. See what I did there? Whoop, whoop. Now, with a 2-3 record, Kansas City is in dire need of an early season turnaround. It needs to happen fast. Their defense is last in most categories, and the Chiefs have a -7 turnover margin, second worst in the NFL, ahead of only the Jaguars. Let's get a little bit more on that. As a result, the Chiefs' chances to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl have dropped to just 6%. The 4 other teams in contention all have 2 things in common. They've all played Kansas City this season and are led by a quarterback drafted since 2018. That group has held their own against Mahomes this year, going 3-1 with a collective QBR of 71. The conference competition certainly heating up. Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes faced the noise today at the podium.
I think first off, you have to look at the coverages that you're facing, seeing the coverages, being able to recognize those things, and then kind of once you do that, you can slow things down and make the right decision and not take those chances, especially at certain points in the game. And so just doing that and then going back to my reads and trying to be true to those and making sure my footwork's right in the pocket and I can just stay true to the reads.
I keep going back to the turnover part. We're doing a phenomenal job for a series of scoring. You turn the ball over, you got a problem. You know, I mean, that's the reality of it. You can put all the yards together you want. You can put almost 90 plays together. You can do all that stuff. When we turn the ball over, it's an issue. So we've done that in really 3 games, 2 where we've had 4, and then the one with the 2. So those were the games we lost. And I'm taking the blame. I mean, I'm in charge of it, so I'm taking the blame. And we've got to make sure we fix that.
Do you feel like any more urgency than normal because of what's going on the defensive side of the ball?
Not at all. I mean, for us, like you said, I mean, we try to score every single time we touch the football. That's how it's been my entire career here. It's kind of how I have my mindset going into every single game. It has nothing to do with whatever is happening on the other side of the ball. It's just our job as an offense on this team.
Interesting, because you heard Mahomes there say he's not feeling pressure because of the poor defensive play. Not sure if he would have said that he was. But, Key, in your mind, what's the biggest issue for Mahomes in this offense right now?
You know what? You're absolutely right, though, Laura. He's not going to tell you that he's feeling the pressure. And the pressure is coming from the defensive side of the ball. So what Patrick Mahomes is doing is he's becoming impatient. He's looking for the home run ball too many times. And look, not all 6 interceptions, so to speak, has been over the last 15 games because of home runs. It's simple in these 5 games this season, those 6 interceptions that he's had is something that he needs to get control of. Not taking shots and putting yourself in pressure situations because your defense is lousy and not playing up to expectations. You can't put all the pressure on your shoulders. He was right. Get back to the fundamentals. Setting your feet, taking the easy completions, taking what they give you instead of pressing, feeling like, oh, my God, I've got to be Superman out here because my defense isn't very good. You won't win very many games like that because you will turn over the football at an alarming rate.
Yeah, Patrick didn't play well Sunday night. He didn't. No one on their offense really did. There's a saying in football, quarterbacks don't pass up a completion for a more open completion. Thinking of simple completions, slant at the bottom of the screen, tailback's going to be in the flat. This is an easy read. Once that cornerback goes inside, Patrick sees it. This ball should just get kicked out on 1st and 10 to the tailback. You were just trying to get a completion. Get it out of your hands. That's going to get you at a minimum 5 or 6 yards. He scrambles, tries to make something happen, incompletion. 1st and 10. Now we go to 2nd and 5. We're going to go to the spot route. This is an easy read for the quarterback with soft coverage. If that linebacker hangs inside, dude, kick that ball out to the tailback right now. He's free releasing. But you're already getting, number 1 is going to be wide open to the flat. Throw that ball now. But you're already getting off of it. Number 2's open because the back linebacker widens. You're trying to get to Tyreek Hill. There's an open guy out up top. Open to more open in your eyes. That ball gets grounded on 2nd and 5. Now it equals 3rd down. Another simple concept. 1st and 10. Travis Kelce's going to get manned by Tre'Davious White, okay? You're going to go post, corner, post. You're taking a shot on 1st and 10, scoring range. Great. They got 4 over the top of 2. Those safeties are 10 yards past that receiver. Look up top. That is an easy completion, Patrick. Kick that ball out to the perimeter, and you're going to get 7 or 8 yards. But you scramble, and you maybe get 2-3 yards, but you're getting hit. You know, those are those little things. Now, listen, to be fair, Patrick has done stuff like that in the past because he could.
Yeah.
Because he got, I don't want to say got away with it, because he could.
Yeah.
You know, we often use the phrase, what's your offensive identity? I think the Chiefs are trying to figure that out, but one thing that people don't pay attention to enough is your offensive identity needs to be married to who you are as a football team. The offensive identity needs to be complementary of what your defense is. It can't just be what we're going to be. Does it match the complementary aspect to your football team? I think they're trying to figure that out.
Yeah, man, I'm going to keep it a buck. And listen, I'm glad Andy Reid said what he said at the beginning when we heard it sound, because a lot of this is on him and Eric Bieniemy. There needs to be an emphasis on the run game. To your point, Dio, complementary to your defense is the ability to run the football. And if people are going to play you off the line of scrimmage that much, you have to try to establish that, right? We talk about these teams that's doing very well right now. The Buffalo Bills, the Dallas Cowboys.
They've done it.
They've done it. Yeah. They've figured out a way to make sure we are going to make people respect this. We are going to make you come out of this. The Chargers with Austin Eckler. That's why I brought him up the other day when we were talking about the game against the Browns. You look at what Dallas is doing. And listen, the panic for the Chiefs is unnecessary at this point.
Yeah.
All right. But if they don't identify that they are not the same Chiefs from 2 years ago, and last year, before their offensive line got hurt, they are going to struggle all season long.
Real quick, I think the thing that does help the Chiefs is they do have the people up front, offensive line-wise, to be able to run the football. And I think EB and Andy Reid will figure that out.
And people are giving them the boxes.
Yeah, they're saying,
like,
hey.
It's there for the taking.
Yeah.
They put that O-line together to protect Patrick Mahomes after we saw what happened against the Bucs in the Super Bowl. The Chiefs travel to the nation's capital this weekend to face Washington. Kansas City has a 66% chance to bounce back in this one, according to FPI. We'll see if they can get this righted this week. Let's get some key injuries in some big names right now injured in the NFL. The Bucs have ruled out Rob Gronkowski for tomorrow night's game against the Eagles. He's still dealing with those fractured ribs he suffered against the Rams in Week 4. Something to watch either way with Gronk, but it does look like Tom Brady will be available. He's dealing with that thumb injury, but everyone's laughing about that because you knew Tom Brady was going to play in this game. All right, how about Colts wide receiver T.Y. Hilton? He will return to practice today, is eligible to play as soon as Sunday versus the Texans. He missed the start of the season after re-aggravating a neck injury, but another weapon for them, right? They could have used him the other night, big time. Running back Saquon Barkley, who left in the first quarter of Sunday's game against the Cowboys with an ankle injury, did not practice today. So once again, we're seeing this injury, which really makes your stomach turn, but it wasn't nearly as bad as we thought it was in the moment. A sprained ankle did not practice today. We'll keep our eye on Saquon. They're also dealing with everything going on with Daniel Jones as well. Plenty more to come on NFL Live. Khalil Mack has returned for the Bears. Find out next what's helped this Bears defense become energized. Has nothing. Bailoa has been activated off the IR. Will be available for Sunday's game in London against the Jaguars. Tua returned to practice today for the first time since fracturing his ribs Week 2. Here's more today from the Dolphins and their head coach Brian Flores.
He'll be at practice, yes. We're excited to get him back. I know he's excited to get out there. We'll take it one day at a time still, but we're moving enough in the right direction that he'll be out there. He'll have an opportunity to practice and hopefully play in the game.
Dan, what do you need to see from Tua in this crucial stretch if he returns?
Urgency. This is a career-defining 12-week stretch for Tua. Stay healthy, but show this coaching staff and show this organization that you are the guy. It's a 1-4 football team right now, and if they don't win a bunch of games down the stretch, Brian Flores, their head coach, is going to have to be a coach that wins next year, or he'll be looking for a job. So you better prove to I'm the guy to dig us out of this hole. I'm the guy to save your job next season. I'm the guy to lead us in the future. This has got to be personal for Tua. You got to go play with urgency.
That game in London, by the way, Justin Fields got the win on Sunday after officially being named QB1 for the Bears. So he got Chicago past the Raiders, but this week the Packers come to town for a 1 p.m. game at Soldier Field. Dan said yesterday he liked how they set Fields up for success with the offensive game plan. Here's Nagy on how they approach the Packers.
I think it'll be great for him. I haven't noticed an ounce of change from him just in the last couple of days. He is just, I don't think that's ever going to change, and that's a huge strength of his. When you have a game or a loss like we had against Cleveland, or you have a win like we just had against the Raiders, you can't tell a difference. That's a pretty good deal there. That's a strength of his. So as you approach and you prepare, as we all understand the rivalry of this division game, we all get it, we understand it, we know it. But at that position, for him to be as young as he is, I think the experiences that he's been through helps him. The confidence he has in himself and his teammates helps him. And he's young, so, I mean, it's only going to get better.
Marcus, does this Bears defense look different since Fields took over as a starting QB?
Yeah, to me, against the Las Vegas Raiders, Laura, they took it personal. And they wanted to get this young quarterback in position for him to use his talent. And I got to shout out to the Bears' offensive plan and laser and what they wanted to do with Justin Fields. But ultimately, you saw Khalil Mack resurge. These guys know in the back of their mind, we got a little juice. There's a little added juice to what we're trying to do as a football team. Justin Fields showing up 2 wins in the last 2 weeks, and you get the Raiders for 9 points. That's a big deal. This defense is stepping up for that young guy.
The Cardinals are the only undefeated team left, and this week another opportunity to prove just how good they are against the Cleveland Browns. Remember, Arizona could be without Chandler Jones, who tested positive for COVID-19. Here's Cliff Kingsbury on his quarterback, though.
Obviously, it all starts there. So we're still growing with him, and I think he's got a lot of room for improvement, and so does he. But we like where it's trended since he stepped foot in this building. It's got better and better each week, each year, and we just got to keep doing that.
Key, you questioned Kingsbury in this offense at times last season. What's changed this year?
You know what, Laura? I certainly did, and I apologize for that. But he heard me loud and clear. They're running the ball at a high clip for this style offense, 8th in the NFL, averaging about 130 yards a game. That is big time. You have to have a portable offense as you make a run into the playoffs, because guess what? The weather starts to change. Defensive schemes change. You can't solely rely on Mighty Mouse to take care of everything for you in the running game. So you have to have some sort of traditional style running game to be successful.
A rare Key apology on the show. Let's hit the trenches with the boys over there. O-line, D-line with Marcus and Dan. Who's going to pick who up today?
First of all, I was watching that Khalil Mack, Robert Quinn on the sideline going like this. Offensive guys don't like that, man. All right, we're going to start with number 5. We are going to go Danielle Hunter versus Taylor Moton. I'm going to put Hunter out there. Now, Moton, in the last couple weeks, has started to struggle for this offense. He has not had a pass block win rate over 90. It tops out at 100. He's got to play well.
And, buddy, this ain't what you want. The length of Danielle Hunter, the ability to get off the rock, and this guy impacts games in a major way. We saw Sam Dorn under some stress against the Cowboys. Danielle Hunter and this defense is going to try to get after him.
All right, number 4. We put Chase Young up there a ton. We're actually going to go to Niang from the Kansas City Chiefs. Again, it's time to show up. There's been a little bit of struggle. Past 2 games, last week gave up 2 sacks. Part of this offense, I said no one played well. Part of it was their right tackle needs to get better. Big challenge with Chase Young.
But here's the thing, Dio, and this is what I said. Ask him to run block sometimes. Put him in a position to be a road grader. What do we know right tackles for?
Right.
The big physical part of the offensive line. The backside is the fleet of foot, be able to protect. Put him in that situation. Don't get this man Chase Young 50 rushes against your offense, and now it's over because you asking him to do something that's damn near impossible.
All right, so Slater showed up last week versus Myles Garrett. Showed up, told him stop chipping. Odafe Owe, right? Odafe Owe for the Baltimore Ravens is right now their best pass rusher.
100%.
And Slater, as good as he is going to be tested by this young fella.
100%. And the thing about Owe is the fact that he motors, brother. He does not stop. The speed, the ability to use his hands. I love seeing young players with great technique, and Slater has it as well. He's been very successful, stout, can stop people at the line of scrimmage. He's going to have to deal with this speed, the power.
Owe didn't have any sacks at Penn State, right? Now he's come out and just killing it.
When you run like a
all right,
4-4.
Myles Garrett versus DJ Humphries. You talked about Key, talked about them running the football. Well, I'm not putting Myles up there either. Because you're in a 5-0 football team. This is a big-time challenge facing this big fella, as we know. Big jump in production out of this offense in the run game, but also protecting their quarterback.
And it's something that Key talked about. These guys are afforded those opportunities on passing downs to be a little bit more stable and not being asked to block this monster every single play. So when you go forward, if you Humphries, you are looking at Cliff Kingsbury saying, hey, we got Connor and we got Edmonds in the backfield. Let's do some of that so I can get this guy off speed.
Put people next to him, too, right? That's something the Chargers did as well. All right, this is a great matchup. Sneaky great. Tyron Smith Smith versus Matthew Judon. No, I'm not putting the Cowboys up there. We talk about him enough. Judon with the red sleeves. This young fella is balling. People have said he's the best free agent signing in all of football.
100% the money is showing up. And Judon was kind of
shout out to the Judon.
He was in that Baltimore defense where you didn't really know exactly what he was because the scheme was so magnificent with blitzes. He's winning one-on-one rushes. But guess what Tyron Smith ain't giving up? Sacks. He ain't giving them up. So to your point, this is a hell of a matchup this week between both of these guys because then, as we have said when we were players, something got to give.
Right. Who do you think looks better than with their shirt off? You or Tyron Smith?
Tyron, for sure.
Just a little bit?
Yeah. 6% body fat. At 310.
I'm going to leave that there. Guys, we actually got out of this with no one picking anybody up. Do not pick me up, either one of you. But how about this? This is Dan Quinn, the defensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys. Had to get some Cowboys love in here. He's got a helmet on. Swagoo. I mean, this is so abnormal, but so awesome.
And people wonder why they're playing better.
Oh, God.
Right? The coaches are getting involved. Look at the big pad on his arm.
What drill are they doing? What drill are they doing?
He is setting up a hands drill for pass rush where when you play.
They had to do it.
It's just like I do
here.
It's just like I would do you. And I'm so glad.
We push back.
No, you won't. All right, still to come on NFL Live. We're talking about the Cowboys again. They're off to a great.
This is only the beginning.
All we gotta do is run the ball, man.
And there won't be any need to review this one.
He steps out there and gives you everything he's got.
Deep shot, and he's got a man. It's caught.
Let's go.
How about them Cowboys? Yeah!
Man, that 1-2 combo of Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard has been a nightmare for defenses this season. I will talk to them. They've combined for 777 rush yards, second most of any player duo in the NFL, trailing only Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt in Cleveland. In fact, Dallas's dynamic duo has run for more yards than 29 NFL teams this year. Woo! I'm selling those numbers because Dan and Marcus are going to tell you just how hard it is to defend this Dallas run game.
All right, so the Dallas run game, the last 2 years in the NFL, the best team to pull people in their run game has been the Cleveland Browns. The Cowboys have entered that conversation. 2 things. All 5 guys on that offensive line, you know how rare that is. All 5 guys can pull, and they can execute that pin and pull game versus multiple fronts. So the first one is going to be Tony Pollard. All right, this is going to be under center versus what's known as an even front. Now, everyone sees the play. I want to tell everybody what an even front is. An even front means to the left side of the center. It's all set off the front side tight end. Left side of the center, you have what's known as a shade or a bubble. He's on the center's left shoulder. Front side, you got a defensive tackle that's known as a 3 technique. He's on the guard's right shoulder. So when you are going to pin people, you need to have down blocks. My tight end is going to down block. My right tackle is going to down block. And my center is going to down block on that bubble or shade and the 3 technique. Now we get to pull people. Because it's an even front, we're going to pull the backside guard and the front side guard. Double pullers. So the pin game is front side. The pull game comes from both guards. Now, Marcus, I talked about being under center. One thing that matters is those linebackers. And you see that the back steps this way and Dak opens left as well. We're just really trying to hezzy these linebackers real quick. 100%. Make them step front side for just a second. Allow those pins to happen and those pullers to get out on the edge. You hesitate for a second. Now look at my blocks front side are fantastic. I got a big fella on a little fella, and then my guard, my backside guard, is pulling for that front side linebacker. Now look, that backside, Marcus, you know this backside linebacker should be able to fill into the hole there, but since we went counter, he can't. That's versus that under front. Now I want to show you one versus a different front. This is going to be known as an under front. That was even, excuse me. This is under, and we're also in the shotgun. Can you do both? Now, under front changes everything. Again, I want everyone to see it. Under front means, again, off these tight ends, I got a shade to the front side of the center. I got a 5 technique, and that 3 technique or a G is on the backside guy. Well, I can't pull him anymore. This center cannot be a puller. This front side guard can't be a puller. They got guys under heads. This time, we're going to go down blocks by our tight ends, front side. My guard front side is going to be a down block, and my guard backside is going to be a down block, right? Now, I'm going to pull my center and pull my right tackle. Last time it was double guards. This time it's center and tackle, and we're going to go from the gun. Now, a big important part of the gun, back, you got to get flat. You can't get downhill again. We need to pin on the front side, pull on the back side, and the back has got to follow it. Bang and bang. Now, I wanted you here because I wanted to ask you this. As a defensive lineman, when you feel the pull happen and the down blocker to pin, why or what is so hard about that?
What's difficult about it is, one, you playing a key. Okay. Right? And the guy that's over your head. And then second, the one that you pointed out, leverage. Yeah. You already are on my outside shoulder. So I have to make a decision as a defensive lineman. And usually it's a panic mode and you try to underneath it.
So if I'm the down block.
So if you're down blocking and you catch me, most guys take this is called the easy way out. Okay. Trying to come underneath and then chase the ball down the line of scrimmage. The correct technique is when you come down, I get my hands, I go over, because now when you talked about those pullers, I'm in the alley as well as my linebacker.
You're going to beat the pullers.
I'm going to beat the pullers. And all I need to do is knock one guy off. I need to knock one of these pullers off, or I go make the play. But more importantly, once those guys get down blocked and those pullers get out there, you've already gained leverage as an offense. So I need to have one of these defensive linemen along with my alley linebacker to be in that space.
It's hard. Right now, it is hard versus Dallas.
It's tough, man.
Yeah, if you're a defense, you don't want to see this team right now. You know what they say about a good ground game. It opens up the passing game. Just look at the season that Dak Prescott's having right now. On the way to leading the Cowboys to a 4-1 record, Dak's thrown 13 touchdowns this season, tied for third most in the league. He's now put together 3 consecutive games with at least 3 passing touchdowns in each. This week, he could become the first quarterback in Cowboys history to do it in 4 straight games. I'm thinking about some of the QBs in the Cowboys history. That's pretty remarkable. Key, why has this pass game been so successful?
Well, I think you got to start off while everybody's healthy, right? The offensive line is intact. They're healthy. They're protected. Dak Prescott, he's healthy when we all thought that he would be out for some significant period of time, meaning like couple years based on that injury. Ezekiel Elliott, Tony Pollard, they talked about it. CeeDee Lamb, they're catching the football. Cedric Wilson, Dalton Schultz. A lot of people thought that Jason Witt retired the tight end position would be a ghost for the Dallas Cowboys, but they found a guy in Dalton Schultz that may be the future for them. So when you look at all that and Kellen Moore, he can dial things up. Look at the Kansas City Chiefs from a couple years ago. When you got toys to play with, Laura, you just roll them out. You just roll them out, you gas them up, and you go. And he has a plethora of toys in the Dallas Cowboys offense, so he's able to do that. One other thing, when the defense is your best friend in getting you the football back, you can do everything you need to do and you relax.
Yeah, right. I mean, listen, we knew the offense wasn't going to be a problem, but the defense has been impressive the way they've turned it around just a season after having a really poor season last year. Let's get to some really exciting news. First of all, Monday Night Football, our Week 6 matchup. Josh Allen and the AFC East leading Bills in Tennessee taking on Derrick Henry and the AFC South leading Titans. Huge one. Starts at 8 Eastern on ESPN, ESPN Deportes, and the ESPN app. You love the Bills. All right, coverage begins with Monday Night Countdown at 6 Eastern, but that leads us to this exciting news. Speaking of that Monday Night crew, huge news announced today as ESPN will broadcast the game of Wild Card Weekend on Monday, January 17th. This is awesome. Steve Levy, Brian Greasy, Louis Riddick, and Lisa Salters will handle the main telecast on ESPN. Of course, you can find Monday Night Football with Peyton and Eli over on ESPN2. There's going to be even more alternative viewing options available on ESPN Plus. This deal means Monday night playoff football for the next 5 seasons. That's extra special, right? It's already special to be on Monday Night Football, but then it's also playoff
Y'all
football.
think they're going to give us some passes?
I mean,
we I got 2 words. Jimmy Pitaro.
I need some credentials.
Hey, great job by
That's
Jimmy
dope.
and the team. This is awesome for ESPN and really exciting for our Monday Night Football crew. Still to come on NFL Live, guys. We're going to talk about the Cowboys again. Just kidding, we're not. How about this for the Raiders? Everything that you need to know about their interim coach. Actually, Keyshawn has Gruden used a racist comment in referring to NFLPA Executive Director D. Smith. ESPN's Paul Gutierrez asked the Raiders owner Mark Davis for his reaction to the entire situation. Davis responded, "I have no comment. Ask the NFL. They have all the answers." Raiders GM Mike Mayock spoke to the media earlier today. Take a listen to this.
Carl Nassib. He and I spoke yesterday a couple of times, spoke again today. We're going to meet later this afternoon. He requested a personal day today. He just said he's got a lot to process. There's a lot that's been going on the last few days. And of course, we support that request. I've talked to several of the black players. Okay, I think we've reached out to a bunch of players, black and white. Everybody's got emotions and feelings. I've talked to some of the people in my department that are black, and my director of pro scouting. And I just said, DJ, I can't put myself in your shoes. Help me. Okay, so we've spent a pretty good amount of time trying to help these guys and talk with these guys, and not talk out at them, but with them. And the other thing I would say is just for Carl, let's be honest, he's a community of one that's openly gay. Okay, we do have a large community of African American players, and we're trying to do everything we can for that community as well, obviously.
You know, the thing about this, and as you hear Mayock say it there are different communities, so to speak, here, but they've all been discriminated against. And that's been what they've been dealing with and trying to process in this locker room. Marcus, take us inside the locker room in hearing what Mayock said and thinking about what it might be like for these players. Where would you say they're at right now?
Yeah, earlier today I talked about this, and I was really focused on the guys in the locker room. And Dan and Key obviously relate to this, is that these things either galvanize you or you start to see the cracks happen.
Yeah.
Like you start to see the things unravel, and you start seeing guys think about themselves, especially coaches, like what's going to happen now, where I'm going to be coaching next year, am I going to lose my job? So it's a lot of those things are going on. But what bothered me was Mark Davis' lightness to this situation. Because ultimately, now that John Gruden is gone, these players are looking to you to figure out what the culture of the Las Vegas Raiders will be, to figure out how did we get to the point that what DeMaurice Smith said, what he said about DeMaurice Smith wasn't enough for this action to be taken by you.
Yeah.
That is the question that a lot of these black players are going to ask in that locker room. And then to Mayock's point, and I like he talked about Carl Nassib, because he had to hear what his community battles against, right? We wake up, me and Keyshawn wake up, we black. We understand that. That's something that we cannot change. That is something that's relative to how we've had to deal with a lot of these situations that transpire either in society or in places that we work or are a part of. But when you think about Nassib being alone by himself, all of these comments coming out, and he's trying to figure out, were you with me? Or was it because all of this was found out?
You know, like hearing you talk, I think a big deal, and this is why locker rooms are so special. You got to go be there for them, right? Like, you guys don't call me, you're my brother when things are good.
Absolutely.
And now when things, I don't want to say they're bad, but like I'm dealing with adversity or I'm not in a good place, you got to go be there for your brother if you're a real teammate. I think locker room wise or football wise, the last thing on your mind is playing good football. That's just the reality. I've been on teams that had coaches fired mid-season, obviously for different situations. But the last thing in your mind is, how do I play good this weekend? Yeah. As much as we want to pretend like do your job, dude, I got a wife and kids. You know, where am I going to be next year? Yeah. Where's my wife just settling into a community? How does my wife pick up potentially and leave? Dude, again, my kids are in school. And I know other communities in the world, military folks deal with that. But it's difficult to think, I got to go do a good job running a curl route when I'm dealing with, I don't know what my life is going to look like come January or February.
It's much heavier than football what this entire Raiders locker room is dealing with. The interim head coach is Rich Bisaccia, and we're still waiting to hear from him today. He is expected to speak to the media later. If it happens soon, we'll bring it to you, of course. He's a special teams coordinator and was a special teams coordinator when Key was with the Bucs. What can you tell us, Key, about him as a coach?
I like the move. I think Rich is great at his job, not only as a special team coach, but also as a communicator. When you think about it, Dan and Laura and Spears, is special team coaches are like strength and conditioning coaches in terms of communication. They deal with everybody, right? Yeah. They don't just have one specific unit. They deal with the DBs, the receivers, the O-line, the D-line, the kickers, the punters, the quarterbacks, the guys on practice squad, because they are special teamers. So they're communicating with you. If you're on a hands team, They're with you. If you're on the receiving team, they're with you. You're in the meeting rooms. So that communication is a little bit different. I think he'll do a hell of a job, much like a John Harbaugh, much like a Joe Judge, the New York Giants, that was a special teams coach with the New England Patriots. His communication skills is second to none. I stand on the table for him. I don't worry about him at all. He will get that team going in the right direction. Those assistant coaches will continue to coach these young men. And then when you guys talk about the locker room, in feeling a certain way about your families and where you fit in, things of that nature, with him as their head coach, I can almost promise you that won't be a problem at all in that locker room. It will not be a problem because they like him. He's a likable guy. You won't have any issues with Rich at all.
Yeah, he's in a tough spot either way because, as we've said on this set,
but this is an opportunity for him, Laura.
Sure.
He can win. He can win big right now. Like, he can win. You know, every coach in these positions want to be the next head coach.
Yeah.
He has an opportunity. This team isn't dead.
Right.
This isn't because the major problem is no longer in there.
It's
He's
a good
gone.
team.
He's gone. John Gruden's nowhere to be found. They don't have to worry about Gruden. Once they move on to the next game, this is a new coaching staff.
You know, it's interesting because they're obviously dealing with so much that is much heavier than football. But, Dan, you mentioned that you've played for teams where you've had the coach fired midseason. With all due respect, some of those probably some bad teams.
It was the reason why. We were 0-7, 0-8. Yeah.
Right. So this is a different situation because this team is a 3-2 team that has a ton of talent on it.
And leadership has to show up, both on the field and off the field. You know, leaders like Derek Carr, who's been there for a long time, has to go. And again, the brotherhood has got to be a 24/7 thing now. I'm here for you with whatever is going on. We got to talk. Let's talk. Let's sit next to our locker and we're going to rap. But it is a very clear message to Key's point and I think leadership point of we're a good football team. And we're not going to let that situation or that person tear down the goals that we worked for.
We keep talking about Rich Bisaccia, the interim head coach now for the Raiders. He actually just began speaking to the media. Let's listen to his opening statement right now. It's coming, I promise.
Good afternoon. My name is Rich Bisaccia. And before we get started, I'd like to read something to you that I prepared with help from people I care about and that care about me. And then we'll go from there. Before we talk about our team or our game at Denver, I feel it's important to acknowledge the significance of this moment. Coach Gruden gave me a chance to coach in a National